welcome everyone. Today we have our another new episode and we will discuss on longevity and we have our world famous speaker Professor Edward. I would like to give chance Professor Edward.
Hi, thank you very much. I only have a few minutes here, but this is a very important topic. There's a lot of good work being done on longevity, meaning we want to live not just to 90 or 100 or 110 or 120. We want to live in a healthy way. And there are really three ways to think about this. The first thing is that you have control over a lot of your own health. This is kind of common sense. In other words, you need to exercise regularly. I jog 50 minutes a day and I listen to books on longevity and other things when I'm jogging. So you need to, eat well, get enough sleep, de-stress regularly, whether you do it through meditation or whatever your preferred means happens to be. Don't smoke cigarettes. They're going to kill you. So that's the first thing. Take care of your own health. Do what you can, and it'll make you enjoy life better because you'll be healthy. Okay. Number two, there's a lot of good work being done on treating or eliminating the diseases that have been around for pretty much forever. For example, sickle cell anemia is a particularly virulent disease that or situation that affects blacks especially. And we've now discovered exactly what causes it so we can treat that particular ailment. Or there's a thing called SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. My poor niece's 3-month-old daughter suddenly died about a year and a half ago because of that. We've now discovered the enzyme that is associated with it, so we can perhaps develop a treatment so that we don't have that sort of thing. So the second thing is a lot of medical breakthroughs. And this is going to require us from going to, certainly in the industrialized countries, from a sick care system, which is what we have today. You get sick and then you get some medicine. It may or may not work. But that's, and then, you figure out how to pay for it, to a real healthcare system. This is going to involve a number of points. First point is we now can sequence a human genome. It used to cost $100 million basically in 2001 when we had the breakthrough of sequencing genomes, went down to $10 million in 2007. It's been under $1,000, and now another company's come out and said they can do it for $100. In other words, the first thing is we can literally figure out everything about your genetic makeup. And there are other ways to analyze your health, so we can basically get a real profile of you as an individual, and not just 72% of people in Malaysia or whatever it happens to be. Number two, we're getting better and better at diagnosing what this data means through various ways, artificial intelligence especially. Number three, wearable diagnostics. That is to say, we have Apple Watches and Fitbits and things like that, but in the not too distant future, we're going to have injectable, basically nanobots that can measure not just your heart rates and things of that sort, and not just blood sugar, which you can do right now, but enzymes, electrolytes, all sorts of things like that. And what that means, number four, is that when this is hooked up to an artificial intelligence monitoring you in real time, if you're about to have a heart attack, your artificial intelligence is going to know that ahead of time, and the medics will be to your door very quickly. But you probably will never get to that point, because the other thing about this second big tranche is that we're developing techniques that in fact can head off those kinds of situations to begin with. I mentioned a few of them. The CRISPR-Cas9 genetic editing tool has been used to clip out DNA that is associated with cancer and cure some children who've had cancer. Stem cell therapy has been very useful as well in going after some diseases. Also, I want to mention a thing called CAR-T therapies. But here's the thing: this is all great, and we're going to need to do some reforms in terms of the policy system, because right now the approval process, for example, for the Food and Drug Administration in the U.S. and other countries is very slow and backwards looking. Here's the third big thing about longevity. The third big thing. I want to hold up a book that all of your listeners should look at Ending Aging by Aubrey de Grey. What he does in this book, and you can also read some other books that go into this and from a different perspective. This is the idea, the SENS approach. That is what he calls strategies for engineering negligible senescence. What that means in English is he has broken down aging into its components. Okay. Meaning what happens to mitochondria over time? What happens to the telomeres on your chromosomes over time? What about what so-called toxic zombie cells that die, but they still infect surrounding cells and all? His strategy is to look at and develop ways to treat each of these symptoms of aging. Remember, most diseases come in the later parts of life, cancer, things like that. So his whole strategy is to come up with ways to work with each of these processes so that, in fact, you don't get a heart attack, you don't get cancer. You keep your energy level. For example, mitochondria is what produces the energy in your body. And there's a whole process with aging where your mitochondrial function doesn't work properly. And so that's why a lot of older people are very slow, tired, and so forth. So in other words, his strategy is a strategy to not only keep you alive, but to keep you healthy. So you can live to 200. You can celebrate your 200th birthday, not lying in a bed with tubes hooked up to you, but you can celebrate your birthday maybe with a nice jog or swim or something like that at a party with your friends. Anyway, I want to suggest Aubrey de Grey's Ending Aging, another very important book, which I don't seem to have right now on my shelf, is called is by Sergey Young, The Science and Technology of Growing Young. That's another very good book. It's a very accessible book. So if you're really interested in not only living long, but living healthy, take a look at those two books. And I have another call, but this is a very important topic, and I hope we continue this at some point. So take care.
Yes. I know you have another call, but one thing, because we are working with many developing nations, especially for the policy development, and healthcare is very important for developing nations after this COVID-19 situation. If you give us some guideline, how we can develop better policy.
Yeah, that's a big one. I'll tell you what, I'll do that on another show because I got another call coming up. But you should do a whole show on how to work this into emerging economies, because that's what a lot of the folks in the Asian Pacific area, Indonesia, Philippines, parts of Malaysia, Bangladesh, clearly really need to look at it from that perspective. So I hope you'll follow up on this. So thanks a lot. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Mr. Arman, today we have some sort of discussion on longevity. And we have our very good friends. Hello, how are you?
Hey.
Actually, we are discussing about longevity. So he has a real startup on longevity. So what you want to share with us, especially on longevity and this kind of things?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, quite a bit. What's the high level context? Just longevity in general, or?
Yes, longevity with functional activities.
Functional activities and quality of life, right? Yeah, I mean, so longevity is a pretty broad term, and I think I think nowadays people are able to live longer, but not necessarily increase their quality of life and remain active. And that's one of the that was one of the motivations to launch Ageless Partners, just to allow people to live more active and healthier. Really, I mean, it's one thing to get more years, but it's all about getting better years. So really, I think everyone knows in general, diet and exercise and these things that do make you healthier and do make you live, get more good years. But really the main thing is that our fundamental willpower isn't as strong as we want, right? So you think about here in the US, you got a lot of people who they may want to go to the gym or they may want to, eat those greens, but then they actually end up watching TV and, having some chips on the couch. So really it's about how do you augment yourself? how do you take specific supplements or do certain protocols or routines to not necessarily have to rely on that willpower. And I can go into some examples of those, but I think that is kind of the main thing to increase your quality of life, because in the end, your quality of life is going to be directly correlated with your health, which is kind of correlated with your longevity. So that can be my initial thoughts.
Okay.
Any
Okay.
thoughts on
Okay.
that, Sharif?
Yeah, yeah. I just want to know, Mr. Sal, I come back to you because of subject matter expert. I give other speakers some floor. So we are actually discussing on longevity. So I just want to know, let's say your research industries from longevity, like those who are doing research on longevity in, I think you are from Britain, right? So how this research outcome you make startup or a corporate solutions in Europe? Jason, it's for you.
My apologies. I thought that question was for
Mr. Arman will
Rana.
answer. Yes, yes.
Yeah, was that question for me? You're saying, or
Yes, yes, basically for you. We
okay.
want to know like how in Europe you are doing longevity research and this longevity research outcome become a good startup in your country.
Okay. I mean, so I'm actually out in the U.S.
Okay,
Um,
yeah.
I know, but I know, I've been in Europe before, and for me, so we're not running any like exact experiments. I do know in Europe there are these biobanks, and I think this is one thing that is going to be big. It's all about like we're getting all these samples, and all these companies and organizations are collecting this data, but that data is so locked down and so internal, and there's so many rules and regulations that it's not actually it's just barely starting to benefit people, because there's a lot of fundamental issues like privacy, um, and so from a longevity standpoint, figuring out that problem across Europe, the US, and really around the globe, I think is kind of critical. Does that answer your question? I can
Definitely. Mr. Arman, uh, as you are from research and academy, what's going on inside like South Asia for longevity research?
Okay, so thank you so much. Although I'm not expert in this line, but I can share my thought about the term longevity in my country perspective, because my country is a developing one, a South Asian country, Bangladesh. Uh, so, in terms of longevity, if I say to assure the longevity in the country, first of all, we need to focus on the healthcare service, because in my country, healthcare service is still under lots of developing issues. Because there are lots of improvement that is needed to ensure the longevity of the people. As we know that the quality infrastructure of the healthcare system is important to ensure the longevity of the people. So, in order to gauge the people longer life, better quality life, first of all, we need to ensure the quality healthcare system in the country. And at the same time, we will have to ensure the food security. That is very important to ensure the longevity of the people. As I am concerned, because I used to be in Sweden for doing my MSc in Sustainable Development from Uppsala University. Where I said that they maintain strict food security all over the country. But here in my home country, such sort of regulatory framework is very few, and people don't care about the food security. There are lots of contamination inserted in the food. Actually, it creates a question about the application of longevity. The people, even if I enjoy long life, 70 or 80 years, but I have to suffer lots of physical limitations due to um, due to contaminated food, due to bad healthcare system. So, like longevity concept may be achievable or maybe quite practical in terms of developed countries. But in developing countries like my home country, or even in India, or other the African countries, it seems quite impossible things or kind of fairy tale. So this longevity concept and this longevity facility and this longevity research, this assurance should be applicable for everybody. As in order to apply this, I mean to say, we have to ensure the quality healthcare system first, and then we have to ensure the better food security in this developing nation, so that we can gauge the philosophy of longevity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have our honorable speaker from Energy Ministry, Bangladesh, Mr. Rafiqul Islam. Today, actually, I think different topic for you. We are discussing on longevity, but I know you are very research-oriented person. You have diversified knowledge. You contribute a lot for talent economy and development. So, for from that point of view, what do you think about this longevity research, as well as what is the present conditions of Bangladesh, especially when we discussing about research and innovation, especially the longevity area? So, what is your feedback and guideline for us? Yeah. Can you unmute, please, sir?
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I'm sorry for being late. Actually, I was not late. I was waiting for you approval at 8 o'clock here. 8 o'clock here. I was waiting 8 to 8:10 o'clock here. Okay. That I think that I thought there may be some problem or technical problem, so that I was disconnected. Actually disconnected. Okay. Uh, it sounds good. Longevity. Is there anybody who don't like to become a long life? No. So theoretically, we have so many studies, research findings in longevity and longevity, even quality of life or functionality. Actually, I try to follow Ikigai personally. Ikigai, I try to follow Ikigai for mental well being, physical well being, etc. So, longevity means duration of human life. Everybody loves to um, live a long life, and it is influenced basically by genetic or environment or lifestyle. In Bangladesh, we have to think some factors that affect the longevity in Bangladesh, like gender, genetics, access to health. Globally, it is true also. Hygiene factor, diet and nutrition, exercise, lifestyle, and crime rates also. In Bangladesh, I think there is no huge study in Bangladesh. You better know, Mr. Rana, whether there are lots of whether we have studied a lot on longevity, or maybe our psychology department in Dhaka University or another university have some studies or empirical studies in Bangladesh. I don't know the findings of their studies regarding longevity and quality of life regarding Bangladesh. Quality of life basically in Bangladesh, as we are entering the developing status as a country, I think we need to increase the awareness about longevity of quality of life among the mass people in Bangladesh. I think there are so many scope to campaign or enhance the awareness among the mass people in Bangladesh. Uh, we don't compare Bangladesh status. with the developed countries or highly industrialized countries. Bangladesh still we have many things to learn about these things, lifestyle, longevity, functionalities. Basically, in Ikigai, I found Ikigai, Ikanawa Island in Japan. The inhabitants of this island, average people are life expectancy of average people are more than 100 years. They try to exercise an aging escape velocity. Aging they call aging escape velocity. Hmm. They don't increase their age. They they follow some um, they follow some their local rules and regulations. That is that is um, friendly behavior, gossip, um, exercise, physical exercise, mental exercise, and the diet control. 80-20 rule. They only 80%. The when they intake their foods, only 80%. Only 80% fill their stomach, while 20% still back and empty. This is their rule: 80-20, 20% empty, 80% full by diet. These are their rules. In our country, we love to eat much. We love to eat, eat mm, uh, much more than another countries. We actually we love to eat, we love to drink in our country. We are not aware of our health. We are not aware of food habit. It's basically food habit. In that case, I think we have we can um, we can take some initiative to enhance their awareness by campaigning regarding quality of life and um, longevity in our country. That's my from my part. I am not an expert on this regard. I am actually still I'm trying to follow the follow some rules, and Ikigai is my Bible.
Okay, great, great. Mr. Jason, what the interesting idea and thought and process, especially from the research, longevity research industries, you want to share with our audience? Yes, different views actually come from Mr. Rofikul and Mr. Saleh. Uh, what you want to add? Yeah.
Yeah, just to add on to what he was saying too. I mean, there is this terminology, this longevity escape velocity, and I think we all want to reach that. That's that point in time when the amount of increase in life expectancy each year is increasing more than a year. So you kind of have this runaway effect. And really, to get us there, I think to some degree we are going to be there, but we're going to be there sooner for the rich and the well off and the people who, the billionaire class and millionaires to some degree. But right now, you're seeing in the longevity field, there's so many therapies coming out, from stem cells to exosomes to blood transfusions to IV therapy. There's a lot coming out, and a lot of the stuff is going to cost money. Now over time, that price is going to come down. So any technology, look at the iPhone. At first, only the wealthy could get it, and then 5 years later, 10 years later, now everyone has smartphones, and so we're going to follow that same pattern. But there is going to be, what we're seeing now. Like if I want to go get, a fancy stem cell procedure, I got to pay a lot of money. We're talking big dollars. So most people can't afford the current therapies. But that being said, a lot of the most powerful longevity therapies are actually free. But circling back to my initial point, like that willpower to actually do them And I think I'm not sure if I can say your name there, but Mr. Islam kind of alluded to it. It's like, do we really want to be fasting and dieting? We want to eat whatever we want. So I think the breakthroughs that I think are going to be the biggest are going to allow us to live the lifestyle we want, but also have those longevity benefits. And we're still a ways off from that. So right now it's sort of that trade-off. You think about what is David Sinclair or these other aging experts saying, and what are they doing? I mean, they're saying that they're eating much less, and they're taking specific supplements like NMN and things. And in the longevity industry, we're studying all those compounds. And right now, I mean, from my perspective, and from Ageless Partners' perspective, the fundamental thing that's holding our society back, there's really two things, but one of them is like the information coming out now is so broad and so dense. And so we're really trying to help people to decipher the anti-aging code and understand these new discoveries in therapeutics, because it's very, very complicated. It's very convoluted sometimes even. We're seeing progress, but that progress is also just too slow. When you're talking about like the actual research in the field, when you look at how long it takes to do a study, it takes many, many years. And I think that it's just not a reasonable time frame when you have over 100,000 people dying from aging every day. So really, I think that we have to take the entire system and kind of look, like there should be a right for people to choose what they want to do on their biology. There should be a right for them to control what they do in their biology and their privacy. And they should have access to these therapies. It should be, almost a, just like any other right to like freedom of speech, freedom to at least experiment. But the fact that a lot of our societies, the U.S. in particular, has a lot of red tape across the board, is definitely something that I think that will need to be adapted. Not that they're not making progress. I just think that the technology is advancing much, much quicker than our society and our perception and our rules and regulations. They really just can't really keep up with the pace. So that's kind of my initial thoughts.
Justin, beside that, I want to know, let's say, Mr. Rafiqul Islam actually bring this point: lifestyle, food habits, exercise, mental peace, many important things actually he discussed. Yes, I actually doing my postdoctorate in Japanese university. It's called I University. I'm actually doing my postdoctorate. So I know that they have a very good habit. So how you want to analyze these issues for different culture? Let's say Europe has different culture, North America has different culture, Asia has different cultures. Culture create any things. Example, my grandfather, he alive 93 years. My grandmother almost same, but my father, no. I do not know about me. Maybe not like them. Do you believe that like culture, food habit, actually how it create impact? Yeah.
Yes. I do believe that. I think that, you've heard of like these like blue zones where you look at like specific areas in the world that people just live much longer. Like, you're giving Japan, that's a great example. There's another area in Costa Rica, another one in Italy. But when you look at these regions, there is a culture, and it is centered around their lifestyle and their diet and their environment. And we're seeing those people live much longer. Like, you look at what is the life expectancy in Japan versus the life expectancy, say, in the US, and you're seeing quite a difference in the numbers. Maybe in Japan it's like 84, 85, and in the US it's 72 or something. So it is a big difference. And it is the culture, it is the mindset. I think it's really the environment and the diet and kind of the lifestyle. Here in the US, like, we have a lot of processed food. We have a lot of people who are obese. We have an obesity pandemic. And I think, when you're eating a lot of processed food and, you think about like back in the day when we were evolving, their obesity may or may not probably didn't exist, because, you would get your meal, you would maybe catch a few fish, and then you would be effectively starving for several days before you maybe find some berries in a bush. So, the obesity is a brand new disease, and I think it's a man-made disease. Actually, I don't think nature like produced that. I think we created it because of diet and environment. That's kind of where I think that it intertwines the culture.
Excellent point. As you're discussing about diet and food, I just want to share because from my personal experience, my grandfather, he never liked fast food. He never eat fast food. He was in Europe, he was in different countries, but he never liked to eat these kind of things. But the developing nations, we heavily depends on first world culture. The food chain like fast food actually come from Europe and North America in our countries. Now our new generation, they are heavily dependent on fast food and everything. And yes, this actually create disease according to research. It's actually not healthy. So do you believe that over capitalism, everything must need to be made business, it's actually uh, it's actually destroy the ecosystem of food agricultures, and it's actually create a problem for life expectancy? What do you think? Because
That's a good question.
yeah.
It's twofold. So like on the one hand, businesses have, created jobs and they've developed economies, and that in turn has some benefit to our humanity, like, companies being profitable and GDP going up over the long term. But on the flip side, and I think you're kind of alluding to this, I mean, I tend to agree. I mean, because of the need, you think about some of these companies even years ago, like that were creating like M&Ms, it's like very, very successful companies. They made a lot of money. They disrupted business. They disrupted, the food industry, a lot of these food innovators. But on the flip side, like I'm kind of inferring, those foods may have actually done damage to our population from a disease and obesity standpoint, and probably from an aging standpoint too. I mean, they're all kind of interrelated. So
And other things, it's not like argument. I just, as a economist, I just want to add, let's say globally we heavily depend on GDP, gross development productions. But I want to be more rely on GNP. Actually, when the multinational company go to any country, yes, they create job, and also they make their profit. And actually, this kind of finance actually transfer to other countries like their homeland. So anyway, this is a lot of argumentative, but I believe that when we discuss about longevities and proper ecosystem, we have to do research on ecosystem. Like every country, I can remember, I'm from Bangladesh. Bangladesh has different, like diversified food, fruits, vegetables, a lot of fish. Trust me, I visit many countries, but I never find that Bangladeshi fish is very tasty compared to any other countries around the world. I
nice.
was in Europe. So somehow when corporate go, they actually kill local ecosystem, and they want to bring new things. Yes, it's add value like a business, but some point, I believe this corporation, especially developed nation, they have to do more research on ecosystem development and how they can maintain the local ecosystem. This is important.
Absolutely, and some of it is related to the laws. I mean, I think the U.S. is kind of catching on now to, like, I'll give the example of this, environmental impact. I mean, companies, if they only have an incentive to make money and not necessarily to protect, the ecosystem, they're going to just make money. And I think that has been the incentive. And I think to some degree, it's the regulators to sort of throw down, be like, okay, well, we have to have these actual laws. You have to give them a financial incentive to actually do what we believe is morally correct. That's what I think is the way to do. Because you can't tell them, oh, like, you should sacrifice your profits for our beliefs. They should just have a rule and say, look, like, this is what we've laid out. This is what everyone believes. Now we have this rule. You have to abide by that. And they're going to make the change. They're going to obviously do the financially incentivized thing in that case too, but they are going to abide. And related to the economic thing too, I just want to touch on a quick point. It's like, if you can actually, I know it was Andrew J. Scott, he wrote a paper. If you can increase the health span of people in the U.S. for just 1 year, and maybe we've talked about this one, we're looking at $38 trillion in economic benefit over 10 years. That's 380 trillion or something like that, and so the economic benefit is massively undervalued. I think once our world kind of wakes up and thinks about those numbers, I think that the research is going to accelerate, but it'll take some time for them to realize that.
Thank you. Rafiqul Islam sir, some interesting point. Always we try to bring in between developed nation and developing nations. I'm a big fan of developing nations because I'm your son. And beside that, I want to negotiate with the developed world how they can share more resources, more knowledges, more technologies, and we can uplift our society. That is our vision. So I believe that for longevity, yes, developed nations do a lot of research, publications, and many things. But I believe that developing nations has their own culture, own ecosystem. I share about my grandfather and grandmother. So how we can contribute to the global community, especially knowledge development area, with our own cultural good things.
Okay.
How we can do research on our longevity things.
Okay. Thank you. Um, the factors affecting quality of life will differ or vary in our countries in compared to developed countries. Some few things are important, that is like financial security. In developing country, one of the most important element that creates disorder in life, that creates stress, financial security, insecurity, job satisfaction. Job satisfaction between developed countries and developing countries is different. Family life, that is also an important element that makes sure that our quality of life, health and safety also. In Bangladesh, beside this, if we think another dimensions, one is physical health in Bangladesh and developed countries, mental health, Bangladesh, these are the dimension, social health and functional health. All these variables, all these construct are different from developed countries in our countries. In that case, we can we can conduct study on quality of life or longevity by using different dimension, that's in-depth study considering the physical health, mental health, social health and functional health. There are some studies also. Another thing is very important in our countries, that is called stress not in our developing countries. Stress is also in developed countries. It is an important element that that affect the quality of life or longevity. Stress, how to manage stress, how to what are the root causes of the stress, that is the important. In that case, I think in our country like a developing country, we need some research in these areas. In that case, we can we can transfer our experience, knowledge or technologies with the developed countries by conducting research in that field.
Yeah, actually, when COVID came, I joined a conference in Stanford University, their medicine department, and they said that this COVID will not affect so much in Asian countries because we use lot of spices and anything. So I said, hey, why you are sending lot of fast food in our country? Better we forward some restaurant to your country. Maybe it will save your lives. Anyway, it's fun.
Okay,
But
okay, if you allow me, I have developed an acronym during COVID, when I delivered my
Yes.
lecture during COVID through virtual platform. Then I developed an acronym or jargon that is called uh, simple stress management tool for our participant or fellow learners. Uh, During the COVID situation, we were demoralized, we were frustrated, we were all the participants, all the inhabitants in our country. Then, when I conduct my training class, then I developed simple SAMPL simple jargon simple for stress management. S for stretch, just stretch. I for inhale. Hmm. M for motivate, something like that. And lastly, E for exercise, and L for laugh. L for laugh. That is stress management tool. That is simple tools. Hmm. Yeah, just a funny talk. I shared I have shared with you during this COVID situation to relieve the stress. I developed this.
Thank you, Mr. Saleh. What you want to add, especially for research part?
Okay, thank you so much. I have been hearing from discussion from the specialist from the UK, ageless partners. Okay, so that's what I said before that in terms of assure the longevity, we have to take care of the two things. One thing I would like to add to the fact that that you said a couple of minutes ago, then that your grandfather used to eat healthy food and he avoided junk food. So it's the same here to me. I don't like junk food, but the fact is that the quality of the food depends. Your the food quality that your grandfather used to take is not same that we are taking now at this moment. The food quality is deteriorating, and there are lots of contamination have been included from the all sort of value chain system in the overall food chain in Bangladesh. So it is very difficult to assure the food quality at this moment because contamination is mixing from any sort of thing. As you know that I am researching in the field of sustainable development, and as we say that that uh, the life on land, that is SDG 15, is very crucial. And in Bangladesh, as we see that we use lots of pesticides, we use lots of chemical fertilizer in the agriculture industry, and it actually creates lots of adverse impacts in the human health. So in order to ensure that if we would like to get a quality to life, I'm not saying that yes, I would like to live 100 years or 200 years. That's not like that. As we know that our age maybe we don't know, and then as per our religious value, our age is limited. But what we need to do, we can increase the quality of our life. So, in order to increase the quality of life, we have to keep focus on the quality of food at first. So, ensuring that the food security is the main concern we need to ensure the longevity in terms of developing country perspective. And the second issue that I have raised before, that the quality of healthcare system. Yes, in Bangladesh, we see that the quality of healthcare service is very expensive. We are heavily dependent on private service, and our public service, that is the government medical services, are 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 very limited for the huge number of population. Uh, I always appreciate our healthcare professionals that they are very skilled, they are very efficient in handling patients. But the fact is that we are unable to support the overall huge population at the same time, and to give the quality healthcare service. So at this moment we have to think about how to increase the medical service as much as we can. And one more thing you may mention Professor Sharif, that the capitalism and yes, capitalism is a very nasty thing. As with the SBG researcher, we always say think that capitalism is not good for everything, and like we see that our commodity in Bangladesh, the price of the commodity is increasing, especially the rice. That is the main food for Bangladeshi people. So the price of rice is increasing due to because of the corporate persons. They actually keep it for their holding and like the price is increasing for the reason. So the system and the economic system it should be changed and with the SDG we always think that we have to rethink the economic system. We have to think about the welfare system for the betterment of the people. So instead of focusing only for the profit, we have to think about the people and for the planet as well. Profit is good. Okay, fine. You can earn for profit. That's not a problem. But the fact is that we also think about the people, so that we shouldn't make any adverse impact for the environment as well. So, thank
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Rafiqul Islam, sir, what's your concluding remarks for today's session? And we want to welcome you because we develop World Talent Economy Forum, and you see we have some initiative, Al Noor Academy. It's our main concern in Malaysia. We're having our School of Talent Economy and Asia Research and Development Academy. Actually, we do more focus on research and development. And we want to collaborate with you because we want to contribute for research and development. And my objective from our developing nations, we have to create new things and we have to introduce to the global communities with our new innovations and new technologies. And yes, we can do research on longevity with you and with Mr. Saleh. Professor, Mr. Rafiqul
Oh,
Islam.
thank you. You told about capitalism. Hmm. I think the digital economy will decrease the income disparity of the capitalism. Our traditional economy shows that our marginal cost curve is U-shaped. In digital economy, since our variable cost is tends to zero, then marginal cost curve will be remain parallel to the horizontal to that. In that case, this is the basic, basic change. Digital economy. Digital economy, I think. Digital economy, I think it will reduce the in the one hand, reduce the capitalist power. On the other hand, world can be divided another two classes. One is intellectual, one another is non-intellectual. Two classes will exist in the world that make because the rise of biotech genetically we can divide it into class. One will be intellectual class, another will be non-intellectual class. Hmm. Okay, in that case, longevity is our desired thing, but how much you can extend your life by using the technology or scientific innovation, it has a limit. You can't immortal. We can't be immortal. Hmm. At least we can enhance or extend our life. It is true, up to 100 or 110 or 120 years. But today's today's discussion is very important and fruitful in our country for our country people, that most of the people in our country don't aware about the quality of life. In that case, we can share our knowledge, we can campaign or disseminate our ideas about the quality of life in our grassroots level. This is the concluding remarks from my side, that we can explore the idea, we can disseminate our ideas for increasing awareness among the mass people about the quality of life and longevity. That's from my side.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Saleh, what's your concluding remarks for today's session?
Yes, thank you so much. So my concluding remarks would be the idea of longevity is very interesting, and but in terms of developing country perspective, it seems very very different because we are struggling about the healthcare, we are struggling about the quality of healthcare service, and so instead by after shooting our basic needs, then we can think about those sort of things. Um, in the first unit of actually longevity, we must ensure the food quality and the quality of medical services. Then we can think about how we achieve or how we strive the philosophy of growth.
Thank you. Thank you. This is excellent discussion. That is our World Talent Economy Forum objective. We want to bring all of the interesting story from developed nation and developing nations. And the more we work together, developed nation and developing nations, we can contribute more for human progressions. And you know that already our initiative, we are taking initiative in Bangladesh, in India, in Malaysia, in Singapore, Indonesia, Vietnam, Africa. Yes, we have many good partners and resource person from North America, from Europe, from Australia. Uh, that is the way actually we want to grow, but definitely we want to develop a knowledge-oriented society. That is important for us. I can ensure that World Talent Economy Forums, we do not have any sponsor. We do not need it. We are not running behind finance, running behind money. We only grow with the goodwill of human being. So I know that many good people we have around the world, both in developed nations and developing nations. We are just connecting all of the dots, and we are just growing. You know that Malaysia, we are launching very interesting project with drone technology. We are developing project with cyber security. In Singapore, we are developing a project for futuristic leaderships. Africa, we are developing women entrepreneurs. India, we are launching our startup ecosystem. Bangladesh, definitely we want to launch our program with energy ministries, and definitely this is my land. I want to contribute more. Today we are collaborating with Bahrain. We are developing research ecosystem in Bahrain. In Middle East, we are also working 100 different countries. We are contributing, we are collaborating, we are engaging, and our objective, we want to develop a real talent economy for talented people. And most important things, we want to develop knowledge oriented society. So we need all of our your support from developed nations and developing nations. Thank you, Rafiqul Islam sir. You are very positive man, and I'm really impressed by your contributions. Mr. Arman, I'm sure you will go a long way with your positive attitudes, with your positive energy. That is the beauty of developing nations. I want to explore more beautiful story from developing nations. Thank you for joining today's session. Thank you. Bye bye and take care.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Bye.
Right. Love.